Amazing. Hey, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Natalie Cutler-Welsh here, and welcome to the very first of the Up Your Brave live stream video series. We're super pumped to have you here today. This is really a little pet project and kind of a massive mission. I'm on a mission, and I hope you are too, to massively raise the state of health and happiness across the globe. I think we need that now more than ever. So I'm pretty excited today to welcome these amazing guests. I have handpicked from my lovely friends who have so much knowledge to share. We've got Karen Boys, education specialist, author of many books. We've got Carrie Dell, who's going to chime in with some tips about health and wellness. She also was a TV host in a past life. And then, of course, Cam Calhoun, who I always describe as one of the most famous New Zealand speakers. He has spoken at hundreds of schools across New Zealand. So I'm pretty excited to see you guys here today. Welcome to all my beautiful guests. How are you guys doing?
Great.
Yeah, good. Really excited to be here.
Yeah, it's awesome, Natalie. Thank you.
Yay, cool. Hey, we've got people joining us on the chat, which is amazing. That means we're all systems go. This is the first one. We're actually live streaming out to 4 different Facebook pages and my YouTube channel at the same time. So I'm excited to just spread the word. You guys that are watching, please go ahead, comment, let us know. Let us know that you're there, and let us know if you have a teenager or if you're just interested, because that's our topic today. So if you guys are new to me, I will do a brief intro and I'll let you know some of the topics I'm going to be covering in the future. I'm actually going to do 2 teen panels. It's such a hot topic. I'm also going to be covering a couple more topics, including leadership during times of challenge. We're going to be looking at supporting kids through challenging times. Got a couple of experts, including the co-author of my book, Jackie Lockington, coming in to join me on that topic. I've also got Keeping the Love Alive, which is one of my favorite topics, talking about romance and marriage, but also keeping the love alive for yourself. We've got Staying Well, we've got mindset and motivation, and also resilience in business. So these are some of the things that are coming up for you guys. So I will keep you posted with all the links and all the guests. Amazing. We've got Ann Cullen. She's got a 12 and a 15-year-old boy. Perfect. We got Rosanna. Great to see you. 2 teenagers, 16 and 15. One of the things I want to acknowledge, you guys, when I do these panels, there is so much knowledge in the room here with me, but also out there with you guys. I appreciate that there's so much knowledge. So I'm excited to see what kind of tips you guys have too. All right, let's dive in. So we're going to kick off. I'm going to introduce my beautiful guests, and they're going to tell us a little bit more about themselves. If you haven't met me before, Natalie Cutler-Welsh, I am known as the go-to girl, and that's because people say to me, Nat, do you know someone who can help with ... And I say, yes, I do. Let me introduce you, which is what I'm doing. So today, let me introduce you to these guys. So Karen Boys, I'm going to go to you first. So I know that you and I have been friends in the speaking world. You actually won a couple of awards for your speaking, which is so incredible. I know you go into a lot of schools and you present I'm not even sure if you speak to the staff or if you speak to the kids or both. So I'd love to hear about that. I know you're also the mother of a teen, and I'm excited to hear a little bit more about your backstory and your very first tip.
Okay, so thanks. This is so exciting. Yes, so I actually have 2 teenagers and a 20-year-old at the moment. One of the teenagers is, both of them are 17 years old. One of them is boarding with us, but she calls me mum. So I say that I'm currently have 3 children and 1 beautiful husband. So I was a teacher many, many years ago, and I got to the point in my teaching where I realized that children were being taught what to learn, but not how to learn it. And this was particularly true in both primary and secondary. But very quickly, I started working with teenagers to teach them how to learn, how to study, how to pass exams. And so for 26 years, I've been traveling the world, been very privileged to travel the world and work with teenagers. And of course, I do work with the teachers as well. But so it's a wonderful place to be able to be. So
Spectrum Education, is that your?
Spectrum Education is my umbrella company, and Study Smart is the teen brand underneath that, the Study brand. Yeah. So you want my first tip?
Yes.
Well, having watched my 2 17-year-olds through this COVID-19 and trying to trying to really cope with that. And plus, they're coping with it without me because I had to come to self-isolation. So I'm not even home. And so I was in self-isolation. I had to stay here for 14 days, and then lockdown happened before I could come home. And so I'm here. And so my teenagers are reaching out a lot, which is actually quite nice. Yeah. So one of the things we've been doing a lot of is House Party. And I know it's an app that many kids are loving right now. But I think the big tip for them right now is connection and making sure they're connected. I think they've always been really connected, but I'm seeing a lot of wisdom come out of the teenagers, a lot of them talking about how they're feeling, which is really lovely because perhaps these are conversations they wouldn't have before. So for parents who are watching, my tip is to allow them to have that really good connection, allow them and talk about who they're talking with. So we have conversations every night. Who have you connected with? Who have you been with? And now my teenagers are both back at school because they're both doing a course at the Institute of Sport. So other tips about how they focus and how they keep themselves motivated when they know they could be sitting in their bedrooms, but now they're having to work. So maybe we'll come back to some of those study tips a little later.
Yeah, I definitely want to hear some study tips. You touched on something so interesting, obviously being connected. So at the moment we are disconnected. People talk about physical distancing, but social distancing, not so much. Like we're actually socially still connected, but physically we are separated. And you've got that extra challenge of literally being physically separated from your kids, which is amazing. Do you find, however, that kids, I find that my teens, they tend to, teens and tweens, I've got a 11 and a 13-year-old, so I'm kind of straddling both of those camps, just starting to enter the teen world. They, it's really cool. Do you find that they message you more? They actually connect with you more now that you're away from them because they have to only message you? Or are you actually chatting on the phone?
No, probably messaging a little more, although I travel for my job. So they're used to me being away. But I think, being locked up in a house and not being able to have that contact has been challenging for them. So, yes, they're careful because they know I'm working a lot while I'm away. So I probably have to reach out first. But what I'm noticing is those conversations are longer and deeper, which is great.
That is amazing. And they're going to appreciate you even more because they'll be doing all the cooking. Maybe. Oh, awesome. Okay, thanks, Karen. We will come back to you for tip number 2. We'll go to Carrie. So, Carrie, can you just give us a little bit of an elaborated background? I know you've done tons of things. I know you're not originally from New Zealand. So give us a little bit of backstory as it relates to the topic of teens and tweens, and then first tip.
Perfect. It's amazing because, yes, I've done hundreds of talks around schools in South Africa, so on various topics, on really different topics, but always been really connected to kids because of my kids. So I have an incredible 17-year-old son and an absolutely beautiful 15-year-old daughter, and I'm going to pinch Karen saying I've got one gorgeous husband, so
that's good.
But yes, I think as far as teenagers go nowadays, and as far as what's happening in all our lives at the moment, because I am a corporate health coach, but alongside that is all the family stuff that comes with, looking at your health holistically. And what we have found ourselves involved with at the moment is that we all experiencing a different type of stress. We really are, stress has impacted all our lives in different ways. People are separated. People are working longer hours because their shifts have changed. People are not working, so they're worried about finances. So stress has come into a household in all different ways. And what happens with stress, it does affect our biochemistry. So we're having a bit of a biochemistry overload at the moment. And the adrenalines are pumping in different ways. The hormones are pumping in different ways with teenagers. So there is a lot that could be very unsettling. And I think my big message is to really take a deep breath and stay calm through it all, because we are so resilient. We've been through so much, and we will continue to get through this really resiliently. So a big tip for a lot of teenagers right now, I really encourage you to get a journal. Get an exercise book from the school that you haven't used. Make it your own, make it personal, and start every day by writing down a couple of gratitudes. Be grateful for the home that you're in at the moment. Be grateful for the food that you have. Be grateful for the health that you have. Be grateful for, the parents in your household. So I think if we can just start changing a little bit of positivity in our own, biochemistry, it's going to affect your whole health at the end of the day. So yes, please start with some gratitudes first thing in the morning and set yourself up for a really good day. So yeah, I've got lots of tips, but
I love that. I think that gratitudes, we all intellectually know that gratitudes are helpful, but it's a matter of putting it into the schedule, like routine, making it part of your daily routine. And if the kids don't want to sit there and tell you your gratitudes, like they probably won't do, they might write them out like you suggested, or they might even text them, like with Karen. You might say to them, hey kids, let's just do this thing for like a week and see if we feel better. Oh my gosh, I do feel better just after texting mom my gratitudes every day. And is the tip also to be specific? So not just I'm grateful for my health, but be a little bit more specific than that.
Yes, when I used to drive the kids to school, and I started this from when they were little. We would drive in the car and we'd start the conversation by saying, right, who's got 3 gratitudes? And we would go around, and we all had to say 3 gratitudes. And I think that's really important. So now that we're not driving to school, it's like, keep that up in the house so that you keep that flowing. Yeah.
Exactly. I'll just go to some of the comments. We've got tons of amazing people joining us, which is so nice. We've got Judith Yeebsley. She's actually going to be a guest on an upcoming episode, and she's got a teen and a tween. We've got your lovely friend, your Katote crew there saying hello to you. Karen, Kimberly, we've got Monica. So she teaches 10 to 12-year-olds and has a 15-year-old at home. Amazing. So we've got a couple of tips that we've shared so far. If you guys in the audience, if you guys have tips, you can go ahead and share those too. We're going to go to you, Cam. Thank you for waiting. I was thinking, interesting combination here. We've got 2 people with teens, or 3 of us have teens. And then we've got Cam, he's probably spoken to more teens in his life than we ever will, because he's spoken at schools all across New Zealand and internationally. I know this has been a massive time, for a lot of people, and I just wanted to share some of the gold that people aren't able to get. So Cam, can you share with us a little bit of your background regarding teens and your first tip?
Yeah, sure. So I was born with cerebral palsy, a physical disability which affects the way in which messages travel around my body. But what you see is what you get. And I had a really awesome childhood. Like my childhood, I wasn't bullied. I had lots of friends. Like I had a cool tree house. Everything was good. And then I became a teenager. And holy moly, becoming a teenager at the best of times is pretty challenging. Throwing the spice of a disability or something that makes you a little bit different, and all of a sudden it was poor me. I was sort of seeing all the challenges instead of the opportunities. And one of the things that the main thing that pulled me out of it was the power of communication. So talking with people, not just pretending that everything was all good, but when someone said, hey Cam, how's your day going? Actually being honest with people and saying, well, you know what, I'm feeling pretty bad, and that was okay to talk about that. But I also always had my dream. I always believed that I was here to do something pretty awesome in this world, and to give up on that was the worst thing, to not know what I could ultimately become in this world, and now be traveling the world as a speaker, to not give that an opportunity to come to fruition would have been the saddest thing ever.
So did you have some advice given to you, or what helped you to turn that around, rather than focusing on how you're not feeling, the negative side, to see the potential that you had in you and to go after it and make it happen? Was there a certain person, or was there a certain phrase or belief that you used?
Yeah. I always think of my my intermediate school principal. And this guy was awesome. He was 29 years of age. He had long hair. He'd come to school in shorts and sandals. And when he'd go for meetings with the Ministry of Education, they would say things like, "Mr. Taylor, you look more like a surfie than a school principal." And he would respond with, "Maybe that's why my students enjoy coming to school so much." So I very quickly learned that it's whoever you are, whatever makes you different, whether it's how you look, how you appear, your position within an organization, it's your job, no one else's, to make people comfortable around you. The other thing he would say to us, and this isn't me giving away my 2 tips now, but the other thing was, talk to me when you're sad, but don't forget to talk to me when you're happy. And that idea of finding out what it is that really lights our people up was what was able to build the ultimate connection, the ultimate rapport. We had respect for our teachers and they had respect for us. And now for friends and family, it's the same thing. Talk to me when you're sad, but don't forget to talk with me when you're happy. We want to know what makes each other tick.
And we want to know what's really going on. And I know with teens, that's tricky because we're like, how are you? How do you feel? And they're like, one of my kids in particular, my 11-year-old, one of his favorite things to say, meh. You know, they say meh. So I don't think they always want to tell us how they feel, but I think you're right. If we can get them to talk to us in times of happiness and sadness. I listened to this amazing radio interview not so long ago. And this woman was talking about the research done and that what teenagers or just people in general tend to thrive when they grow up having one predictable person. So one person with predictable behavior, right? So someone, it doesn't have to be mom or dad, like it might be a school principal or a coach or something. But the key there was the predictability. So it wasn't someone that would suddenly turn on you or suddenly like be really nice one day and then mean the next, or, you know, because safety and security as humans usually is one of our number one needs. And I thought that was really a good point. So just making sure in this current climate that we're in our own bubbles, wherever those may be, making sure that our teens and tweens have one person that is predictable that they can rely on for support, whether they're in the actual bubble or not. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
I think you're 100%, yes, I think you're 100% correct there, because it creates a stability and a safety and security, which is what they need right now. Well, they need it all the time, but it's really important that they have a security, you know, that they feel secure. I find that, you know, teens that grow up like that really become a lot more confident in themselves. So it has a ripple effect. It has a different effect. You know, it's not always, you know, because there's one stable person, it might create them to be stable. I find it creates them to be confident. So I think it's really important.
Nice. Thank you so much. Okay, Cam, let's go back to you for your tip number 1.
Oh, I feel like I gave it away.
You gave it. I thought you said before, this isn't my tip. So I'm like, okay, it's not your tip. Hey, I'll go to the chat box in the meantime. If you guys, I would love to know, I can recognize some names, but geographically, I would love to know where people are watching from. So whether you're here live with us now or you're watching the replay, pop the name of your city or your town. It's really interesting for us just to see where people geographically are coming from. I know that my sister, she lives in San Francisco. So I was born in Canada, but my parents are Kiwis. So we have this kind of international flavor going on. My sister actually married a Canadian, but they moved to America. So they live in San Francisco. I think they're probably on week 4 at the moment of their lockdown. And she's got 4 teenagers in the house. So she actually said, thank goodness they have each other. So thank goodness for siblings. I know that it possibly would be hard for some teens if they're at home with no siblings. But I feel like one of my tips, I guess, to share really is to love them in the love language that they understand. So I'm a super big fan of strength finders, personality types, and love languages. I think they're really cool tools for parents to understand. And I didn't even know about those things until I started writing my book. So my kids were already, 5 or 7 years old. So I feel like loving our kids, our teens, in a love language that they can understand at this point is really important. So it's almost a good time to just stop, reflect, and go, actually, how do they give and receive love? Because it's probably going to be different from what we do. So I know with one of my children, quality time is definitely their love language. And it's not mine. It's not, and physical touch is not my love language either. I do have a child, my 9-year-old. Physical touch is his love language. Like, he loves when I touch his hair. He comes and sits on my knee. So I think loving them in their personal, in their love language at this point is really, really important. And also loving ourselves in our own love language as well.
Yeah, that kind of reminds me of what I was saying before about Mr. Tali. Talk to me when you're sad, when you're happy, because we can learn how one another communicate. And I mean, I speak at so many schools in a year, and I go in and I walk funny, I talk funny, and I can see them snickering and pointing at their mates, and then I talk, and by the end of the talk, those kids who were laughing and pointing at the beginning are the first kids to come up and say, dude, that was awesome. How did you do what you did? How did you get out of a hole? How did you identify what you wanted to be? And because through being able to read the audience, read the people, I answer all the questions that are going through their head, so that it doesn't become something to bully me about, rather something that we can now connect on. And when you've got that point of connection, they're able to share their deepest, most honest dreams or their deepest, darkest experiences, and together we can now get through that.
Yeah, and what they're going through now, this is going to be big for them in some ways. I mean, thank goodness they have Snapchat, so they can all message each other and stay connected without being physically in the same space. But that is so interesting, isn't it, about people that kind of judge and point and snicker, but then they come up to you afterwards because you've changed the way they think, which is amazing.
I think part of the reason is when, because I know Cam well too, but Cam's vulnerable on the stage, so he shares his vulnerability, so then others feel they can. And Kerry, you were talking about gratitude, and I know I've put big pieces of paper, big chart paper up in our home, and I noticed in the chat someone said, they've tried and their teenagers roll their eyes, but I put my gratitude up there first. I do my part, and then they do it too. And so I think that's part of what Cam's talking about too, is that if you say, hey, I'm sad, I'm lonely, I'm feeling, this is hard for me too, and we don't have to be that strong adult all the time.
And I think you're 100% correct, because this is the first time we're all going through a situation like this. So even though we're parents and we're adults, we haven't been through this before either. So we're also just learning what are the ways that we can navigate ourselves through this in supporting the family life, and being authentic. Just be yourself and speak the truth is just really, really important to help the family get through this.
I think you're right. We do, on one hand, we want to be the lighthouse, but on the other hand, it's really important for them to know that we don't have it all figured out, and that's okay. We're going to navigate our way through together. I want to address something that Kimberly Taylor Coleman mentioned. She said she's in Christchurch. She's got a 9 and a 12-year-old, and her 12-year-old are clashing at the moment. So maybe some of you guys have some comments on what to do when you're clashing. I'm going to share my second tip at this point, which is something I love to talk about. It's say what you want. So the magic words in any household. When my kids were little, and my husband would come home from work and I'd be overwhelmed, he would say the magic words, how can I help? Like, those words were gold to any mom, right? And so now those are still gold. But now in my family, as we've gotten older, we use this words. We say, what do you want? Like, what do you want? Or say what you want. And so, because what I find is that people tend to complain or have a little tanty or a rant or whatever, get grumpy, but usually it's because they're not actually saying what they want. And so whether it be the fact that, he got more ice cream than me, Like, hey, oh, why did Xavier get more ice cream? Honey, say what you want. More ice cream, please. Done. Like, done. It's such a game changer. And the other example that I often use, but I'll use it again. And right now, we can only get out to exercise here in New Zealand. My husband loves to exercise. So, but this example is from a while ago. I said to him, hey, babe, like tomorrow, are you swimming? Are you running? Like, what's your plan? And he goes, what do you want? I said, I want to go to Pilates at 7:30. He's like, I'll be home at 7. Done. Like, I didn't care really if he was swimming or running or right. I just wanted to go to my class. So I feel like the magic words, like, what do you want? As long as in the family, you're not being rude. Like, what do you want? It's like, hey, well, what do you want? Like, just cut to the chase. What do you want? That can be a game changer. So Kimberly, I hope that is something you guys can implement in your house. It really changed things for us. And I've had a few friends implement it. And one of my friends said it was like a marriage saver as well. So there you go.
Yeah. And sometimes I guess about what do we want, we might need to change our perception of what that, how that actually looks today. So it could be about, I really want to go and hang out with my mates.
Yes.
Yeah, but I can't do that. So what is that? Rather than focusing on what we can't do, it becomes what we can do, so we can jump on the hangout or, and I did that as a kid, I'd see the cool kids and they'd have their skateboards and I'd say, hey, I can't come skateboarding because my balance isn't as good as yours. So I'd give them a compliment, make them feel good. But I've got the scooter, and with my scooter, I can go anywhere that you go. So if we can't do what we want to do now, what's the alternative, or how can we bend perception in order to still get the same endorphin, get the same feel going?
Completely. Exactly. Karen, I'll go back to you. If you want to share with us a second tip or maybe make reference to any of the comments, you're welcome.
I just want to let you know, Natalie, that I've got a 20-year-old son and he still goes, meh.
Meh.
So,
okay, good.
It's a long haul, all right? I'm just letting you know. Yes. So many of our students will be going back to school virtually, and it's going to cause some different challenges, I guess. But there's some tips that I have for parents and for kids, teens, to be able to manage that. One, create a routine. So make sure that, like if they're going back to school virtually, that there's a routine that you're getting up. Obviously, they're not having to get up as early, which our teens are going to love. Instead of my girls having to get the train at 7 o'clock in the morning, they just have to get to the computers at 5 to 9 and be ready. So they're like, and they're doing it in their pajamas, which is even better. So they're not even having to get dressed, which is fine. So don't worry about all that stuff. If they're not getting dressed, it's like, have a routine. Then make sure they've got a place where they can do their learning. So a place that's maybe public or private. If they're in their bedrooms, then it's harder to know if they're doing it. I prefer my teenagers to be out at the kitchen table and working there, so I know what they're doing, so I can be watching. And they're also, my two are doing the same course, so they can be working with each other. But it just creates that bit of motivation. So having a place that they're doing their learning. And then the third step is if they're doing the self-learning, so if they're having to do their own study, my suggestion is, and I'll give this so you can put it in the links or whatever people want to download, is to download on their phones the iStudy Alarm. So it's a free app that I've developed, and it has 27 study tips within it. It has a whole lot of ideas, but it times them for studying for 20 minutes. And so, we talk about attention spans. We want to make sure that our teenagers can do short, little, sharp sessions rather than doing, you have to sit at the table for an hour, but 20 minutes and then a 5-minute break, 20 minutes and a 5-minute break. So the app actually allows them to do that. So that's one of my biggest tips. And I know literally hundreds of thousands of teenagers are using this app and finding it so useful. It's totally free, and I'll give Natalie the link so that
amazing. That's incredible. Well, congratulations on that too. Look, we've got someone joining. We've got Teen joining us from the Philippines, which is pretty awesome. So we're spreading the knowledge far and wide. I know there, I'm not sure if you're into 3 weeks lockdown over there, Teen. I'm not sure how far in you guys are. Carrie, I'll go to you if you want to share another tip with us.
Yes, I'm going to, but I also just want to say thank you to Jo for having a boat party with her family. I think that's fantastic because you've got to have fun. You've got to have fun during this time. You know,
Yes.
You've got to release that stress by having some fun. So think of creative things to do together as a family is so important. So well done, Jo. That was really cool.
Hey, I'll jump in on the fun thing. You know, the other night, the guy came and delivered our Whoop box, which is World on Our Plate. It's like the meals, so that is amazing. Anyway, but we were so busy. We didn't hear him because we were so busy laughing and having a jolly family time around the table, which we always eat dinner together, always. But we don't do table games, right? But we've started doing these table games together as a family, and we did that one where you go, okay, animals, go, and everyone has to say an animal at the same time. And if you have the same animal as someone else, you lose a point, you know, and we did that in lots of different categories. Oh my gosh, we've been playing table games every night. Like, you gotta have fun, whatever that looks like to you and your family.
It is. It's so awesome. It's so awesome. My family sometimes shoot me down because I'm so competitive. I don't let any of them win. but you know what? It's all learning. So it's all cool. It's all cool. But what I really would love to encourage parents, please, because I've been to, obviously, when we go out and do the shopping and I'm looking at the shelves and I'm looking at what is moving off the shelves so quickly and what is staying behind. And unfortunately, it is a lot of the junk food. It's a lot of the food in the packets and, it's the boxes and the tins. And then all the fresh produce is still there. There's a lot of fresh produce. And I just want to encourage you to please have some fruit bowls at home, have some additional veggies in the meal at nighttime, and be a little bit creative with them, because I have one child that is absolutely ultra healthy, hasn't had sugar in 4 years. And I have another one who is got a sweet tooth and will pick out the veggies. So last night I just made I had no recipe. I was just throwing a whole lot of things in to make a vegetable soup. And when I blended it up, my daughter ate it and she said, "Oh, this is so delicious. This is so delicious." And I said, "You don't even know what you're eating." She says, "No, but it tastes good. It tastes good." So there was a whole lot of mushrooms and celery and all sorts of things hidden in this that she didn't have a clue. And so there's definitely ways and means of getting the good stuff into their systems. And right now, what I am finding is a lot of people are doing the emotional eating. And the emotional eating does turn into its sugar cravings and fat cravings. And so they want that bag of chips and they want that chocolate. And what that turns into is the brain fog and the low energy, and all the emotions start pouring out in a whole different way. So if you've got any teens going through hormonal changes and going through all these mood swings, please, I encourage you to put them onto fruit and veg. I really do encourage you, because I've seen when they take sugar out of their diets, their minds become clearer, their thinking becomes clearer, and they start to stop and think before they act, which means you're in a whole different situation. Instead of having the conflict, it's more a debate about, is this a good thing I'm doing? Is it not a good thing I'm doing? So sugar plays a huge part on our teenagers at the moment, a massive, massive part. So have that bowl of fruit and have those additional veggies in the evening. And one thing I start my family on every morning is a green smoothie, because I know if they start their day with enough goodness going in, their body can also handle some of those additional treats that they have. So, it is about putting more of the good stuff into their bodies right now.
I love that we're covering such crucial topics. We did like the education side of things. Now we're looking at the body and the health. I use this phrase, which is, what are you feeding yourself? And I ask, usually I work with adults, right? So I work with business owners and speakers, but I often say to people, what are you feeding yourself in terms of like knowledge? Like, what podcasts are you listening to? What books are you reading? What pages are you following? Like, honestly, so what are you feeding yourself in your mind? And then also obviously physically in your tummy, in your mouth, what are you feeding yourself? It's so, so important. I feel like my husband's going to get his wish of turning us into vegans, because we're so limited with going to the grocery store. We're actually eating very healthy. But I know that flour is a sought after product. A lot of people are baking. So it's like, let's have some rainbow with your baking, right?
Yeah. Cool.
Awesome. Let's go to you, Cam. Do you want to add anything onto any of these things we've been chatting about?
Yeah, man. I mean, it's just been so cool hearing all these ideas and thinking how I can practice them here in my own little bubble, you know. And I remember being told you're never too young to give back, to make a difference in this world. And when we start looking at ways of regaining our perspective or seeing how privileged we may be, find that time now to maybe be like, how can I give back to someone else? You know, how can I make sure that these messages that I'm posting up on Facebook are as positive as they can be, and just really use this time to be the inspiration for other people, because every single one of us has an inspiring story. The only difference with the speaker is that we've invested hours into the resources and the development of telling it. But things like I have a few iconic stories, but I never knew were a part of my life until I really sat down to think, okay, what got me into sport? What got me into climbing Mount Kilimanjaro?
Yes.
And so if we use this time to think about what has got us to achieve that A result in an exam, or what enabled us to build that friendship, or what enabled me to make my kids' day amazing, use this time now to share that with as many people as we can, whether that's the bubble or many bubblets.
I really wanted to get some teen insight as well, not just from us as the adults, but some teen insight. So that is something I'm hoping that later on some teens, I don't know if teens are going to comment on my Facebook post, but maybe they can tell their parents, this is a little call out to the teens out there. What would support you? So the topic today is supporting teens and tweens through challenging times. Obviously, globally, we're facing a massive one together. But remember, you as a teen have already been through, I imagine, at least one or more challenging times in your life. And so you've persevered. You know you can. This looks a little different, but we would love to know from the teens, like what would actually really support you, either within your bubble with your family, but wider than that as well. Cam, I mean, wouldn't it be great for you to get some teens to share their iconic stories? Like, who knows what's going to come of this?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. More than happy to do that.
Definitely. So maybe you can see if you can get some comments or insights.
I mean, that's an inspiring time. You know, I was speaking with a tech company last week, and that's the thing. Like, within the space of 74 hours, I'd lost all my work for the year, all of it. There was some really big, exciting stuff. But
Tell us about Hawaii. Tell us about Hawaii.
Well, it's not happening anymore.
I know, but what was it going to be?
25,000 people in one go. 25,000 people. I was involved in the Olympic torch relay up in Japan, looking to move to LA. Like, there was all this stuff that was just so well lined up to go, this is a time for a big year. Mm-hmm. But all those things just push out, right? And so I could use this time to focus on all the things I can't do or what I can do. And I think one thing is about not being too quick to responding to what is a need, but making sure we stay true to what are our passions, you know, and is that true and is that authentic to us to be doing that, or are we just worried about something?
I think that's so amazing. I remember, Cam, you and I were chatting the other week, and I got off the Zoom with you, and I said to my husband, he has the most incredible attitude. Like, he literally had all his work just poof, right? Including Hawaii. And he's like still grinning from ear to ear. I think, it comes back to what Carrie mentioned, like, we got to see the good, right? We got a gratitude. We need to look for the good stuff, but also obviously acknowledge the bad stuff. Like you mentioned, Cam, at the start, share the losses and the wins. We want it. So with teens, I think it's the same as with adults. You know, you guys know that I love my essential oils, and it's one of the tools that I help people with their emotions and their health. But one of the things we say all the time is we say, how do you want to feel? And quite often, I think with teens, they're going to say, meh. No, they might say, like, listen, I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know how I want to feel. But sometimes they know how they don't want to feel, like the flip side. So sometimes for people, that is an easier question to answer. It's like, how do you not want to feel? Well, I don't want to feel so suffocated. Okay, great. So you need some space in the house, like, you know, maybe out some time on the deck outside where we're not going to come and play. The other two kids aren't going to come and play in your space. You know, or, you know, we'll have a rule where we'll knock 3 times before we come in. Or in my house, it's like the 9-year-old is not allowed to wake the 13-year-old up because she sleeps until 10 now that she can. So maybe it's a matter of like, how do you not want to feel if they can't answer the how do you want to feel question. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Judith. Judith says her teen says connecting with his friends. Definitely. Yeah. I know there's lots of platforms for that. Snapchat is one that, you know, my kids are using a lot just to have conversations with their friends.
And I think that for parents as well, is just to compromise on that. Because I know we've always been so strict as far as saying, you know, limited time on the phones, limited time on the TV, limited time on devices. But right now they need that social interaction because they haven't got it physically at school. So they do need that interaction. So just parents compromise a little bit and just be gentle at this time, because that is so important to teenagers to still have that friend connection.
Yeah. And I know a lot of the teens, they're using Snapchat. They actually take photos of themselves and they drop voices. Like, so they'll leave a message. They're not on FaceTime as such, but they're leaving these so they can see each other in a way, kind of in real time, and they write little things on it. And I think it's just amazing. I think also the comment about journaling. I know that my daughter has a journal. She literally just writes down like what exercise she did that day, because she's a big competitive cheerleader, you know, what she ate, you know, but she's just keeping a journal, which I think is just important. It's going to be an interesting time in history for all of us to reflect back on.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, awesome, guys. If you can let us know, we're going to wrap things up in a moment. If you can let us know where people can find you to learn more about what you're up to, and maybe one final, you know, comment or anything else you want to add before we wrap up. Karen.
Yeah, sure. So my website is spectrumeducation.com. So you can find information there, or on my Facebook page, Karen Tui Boys. Lots of information there too. So final thought for me is actually dovetailing into what we've already just been talking about. I was interviewing Dr. Jodie Richardson a couple of days ago, and she said something that's really stuck with me, and it was all feelings are okay, but not all behavior is. So saying to our kids, you know, if they are fighting with each other, if they're getting on each other's nerves, we need to have some conversations that all feelings are okay, but how you behave makes a difference. And also just understanding, as you said, Nat, about the love languages, even the difference between an introvert and an extrovert, and who needs more space and who needs more time, and just opening up that communication line, but knowing that all the feelings that you're feeling are all okay.
Exactly. And that goes out for the parents too, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
All right. What about you, Carrie? How can we find you, and any final comments?
Yes. So my website is workforce-vitality.com, and it will be info@workforce-vitality.com is where you can find me, or Facebook. Just message me. I'm always there to connect. But what I'd like to say, and I do have a special offer, Natalie, as well.
Yeah, go ahead.
Chat about, because sometimes during this time, what we do is we do emotional eating, which I've mentioned already. And what I teach is about 6 different human hungers. And the one that gets really confused really easily is a thirst hunger. So when the body is shouting out that it's hungry, it's actually not hungry, but it's dehydrated. And so how do we recognize that? Yes, go, Natalie. So before we eat, if we could have something to drink, and then see if the body is still hungry. So I've got a 2-week program that I'm doing. I'm probably going to do it on a regular basis. But what it is about, it's about It's 14 days to reset your body, to stop those sugar cravings, to stop the emotional eating, learn about the 6 human hungers. It's all online. It's in group coaching sessions. It's really lovely when families go through it. I've taken a couple of families through with teenagers, and all of a sudden they start having amazing realizations about what the food is doing to their body. And they start feeling their body and they go, oh, so that's what it feels like when you eat good stuff. Or that's what it feels like when I don't eat good stuff. So it's amazing that in 14 days you can have quite insightful realizations about what the food does in the body and how your body is actually reacting with it. So please drink lots of water. That was my final tip, was drink loads and loads of water, because don't let your body get dehydrated during this time.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, I've got 2 little water tips that I'll piggyback on that. You guys, I will be sending out an email. So if you're not on my email list, then private message me on any of the pages, wherever you're watching, with your name and your email, and I will add you to the Up Your Brave video series list. And that means you'll just get a couple of the notes and you'll get alerted to what is coming up next. So water tips. One of my friends, Shally Gowith, she talks about the importance of having a straw. I don't have a straw, but gulping water to stay hydrated apparently is not as effective. Like drinking it sipping through the straw throughout the day is much better. Here's another one I never knew of. Apparently adding, like, being hydrated with your skin. So putting lotion on can protect you from the elements. So the other day when I went to the grocery store, I was like putting on my lotion before I went in. So that actually, because our skin is the biggest organ, and we absorb through our skin and our nose. We absorb good stuff, but we also absorb bad stuff. So I was like, I never thought about like cream, and ideally non-toxic cream or lotion, as a way to protect ourselves as well. So that was interesting. Okay, let's go to you, Cam, for some final comments on how can we find you.
I'm just getting so thirsty.
Oh, I know.
Talking about this, my mouth is like drying out, and I'm like reaching for my drink bottle.
He's like, green smoothie, water, green smoothie.
Yeah, I'm going to do a green smoothie. I'm going to have a water. I'm going to get my straw. I'll get my spray. And that, people, Instagram, Facebook, I've got videos going out every couple of days at the moment, just providing little bits of inspiration for people. Final thought is, I was interviewing Moses Mackay a few months ago from Solomeo, from the baritone. And he said, have passion, so keep your passion, but stay curious. And I think that thing of staying curious in this time is so important, because our passion, whether it be speaking, going into the office, training to be an All Black at a Silver Fern, whatever it may be, that might be destructive at this time. But if we can stay curious, well, then that's when we're going to start seeing the opportunities that we do have.
What a fabulous note to end on. I think that's so true, especially now, uncertain, challenging times. You have to, shift your mindset and be like, I wonder what opportunities await. Like, I wonder what magical things are going to happen that possibly wouldn't have arisen otherwise. I do think, coming back to the teens, some of them are going to be closer because they've had all these chats and Snapchats back and forth, and they're going through something challenging together, although in their own bubble. I feel like some relationships, friendships, are really going to strengthen through this and just get to real, true friendships. And I think the ones that are more surfacey friends or frenemies or whatever might maybe slip to the side, because now we really focus on what is actually important to us when we've been so challenged. That's amazing. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. It's been amazing to share your knowledge. Thank you, everybody who's been watching live with us today. And of course, those that are going to watch the replay. I've got, as you know, a bunch of amazing guests coming up, incredible topics we're going to cover, all designed to raise the state of health and happiness here in New Zealand, but of course, globally as well. So thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. You can find me in the rest of the notes as well. You can check out nataliecutlerwelsh.com. And until next time, you guys, remember to up your brave, say what you want, and make it happen. Thanks so much.